Alright, guys, welcome to Take Your Base. I'm your host, Flavo Rihanna, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Alright, guys, so it's been a minute. It's been a minute since the last time I've done an episode on Clean Feed, but we're here. And we got some breaking news. It just ended up happening around like 11 o'clock, the top of the hour. And I gotta say, it's not the news I wanted. Pretty bad day if you're a fan of the Mets, because ended up hitting the fan today. So we'll break it off with what ended up happening around 11 o'clock. So at 11 o'clock, as you're reading the header, yes, George Springer has officially signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm not too happy about that. The Mets had George Springer in the palm of their hands, and this is speculation on my end that I'm assuming there's no facts to prove this as of right now. It's 11:49 on the East Coast as I'm recording this right now. But George Springer had announced, I want to say late last week, early this week, he wants to be closer towards his native home in Connecticut. So right then and there, that gives you, because the only two teams that were in the running were the New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays. Clearly, Connecticut is close to Queens as opposed to the city of Toronto. And I gotta say, when I heard that when I heard that news, I was like, wow, all right, this is great. We're so close on being able to sign George Springer. Nope. We had news that came out yesterday about Jared Porter. Jared Porter, Mets GM, was only in charge for about a month and a half. Well, about 35 days. So a little bit less than a month and a half. And came out, I think it was Jeff Passan, if I'm not mistaken, who ended up breaking the news. But yeah, it came out that Jared Porter, back in 2016, when he was a scout for the Chicago Cubs, was harassing a foreign reporter. I believe she was reporting for Masanori Tanaka, pitcher for the Yankees at the time, and the reporter ended up giving Jared Porter her business card, and immediately that night he ended up texting her 62 times in a row. Yes, 62 times in a row. Now, we live in an era, in my opinion, where double texting is frowned upon. I normally don't double text at all. I just let things be for what they are. But for somebody to text 62 times in a row, all right? No, 5 times wasn't enough. 10 times wasn't enough. And right there, that has a lot of red flags. You're texting 5-10 times in a row. This guy decided to push it to 62 times in a row. Now, I don't know exactly what was said word for word, but it was along the lines where he wanted the reporter to meet him at a hotel. He was being very disturbing by taking pictures of an bulged penis and taking pictures of his penis, naked. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing because of the fact that we live in a society where a reporter couldn't even come out and bring this to somebody's attention that could have done something at that moment in 2016, and waited pretty much 5 years. 5 years to come out about this. Now, this reporter, is anonymous. She has said that she doesn't want to come out, and sue him and look for any type of, payment. Doesn't want any of that. She just pretty much wants Porter out of his position as GM of the Mets because fearful of him doing the same shenanigans again, which is possible that he might be able to do that. So, kudos to her. She wants to remain anonymous, and she also doesn't even work in that field anymore. She's not a reporter anymore. She actually now works in finance in her respective foreign country. So it's pretty remarkable. It's in the worst way actually, that she couldn't even come out and tell people, hey, this is this is what's happening. They don't want backlash on her end, even though she's the victim. They don't want to be frowned upon in her country and be harassed about it. Kept the receipts, the text messages, and then ended up announcing to ESPN, because apparently ESPN was aware of this, and ESPN granted her wishes by not coming out with this report immediately and just waiting for the right time. Because think about it, this story would have never been as big as it is now if this happened in 2016. And the only reason I'm saying this is because of the fact that Jared Porter was a scout for the Chicago Cubs. Now, a scout doesn't have the same clout as being a general manager of a team. So this story gets magnified, 5 times bigger, in my opinion. The fact that, the Mets are the hottest team in baseball right now. When I say the hottest team in baseball, because they're always, for the most part, in the news. You got the wealthiest owner in baseball with Steve Cohen running the ship. Yeah, Sandy Alderson, back with the Mets. And then Sandy Alderson brings in Jared Porter in to be his predecessor, his protege. And Sandy's going to teach him the ropes. But, nonsense like this, and the reason why I'm saying nonsense is because Jared Porter should have known better. He should have known better on understanding, like, the word no is no, and for her to tell him stop and him not getting it, shame on him. I don't expect Jared Porter to have another job in MLB anytime soon in the future. I know there's an investigation going on. I know that MLB is gonna want to investigate, probably want to interview people that work in the Cubs organization, a la Theo Epstein. So it's something to look forward to, as for the information that's going to come out. I'm very interested to see who knew about it, who's hush-hush about it, who's willing to come out but was forced not to reveal any information. So this investigation with Jared Porter, the Chicago Cubs, the 2016 staff, should be very interesting. MLB is going to be investigating this type of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they're investigating it now, or they're going to wait until the morning, but we shall wait and see. But getting back to George Springer, guys, yes, George Springer signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Blue Jays and the Mets were the two leading teams to sign George Springer, and the Blue Jays ended up stealing George Springer from the Mets. Took advantage of the situation that, hey, let's strike while the iron's hot. Let's snatch George Springer and let's offer him a 6-year deal for $150 million. Now, earlier this week, we had DJ LeMahieu sign a 6-year deal, $90 million. If I'm DJ LeMahieu, yes, I know I took a cheaper deal. But why did you take a cheaper deal? You only gave yourself, a $3 million raise annually? And you wanted 4 years. You got 6 years. Great. George Springer, who, in my opinion, is not a better player than DJ LeMahieu, right? DJ LeMahieu is a great hitter, better hitter than George Springer, is now getting paid $40 million. No, I'm sorry. $60 million less. I don't know. I mean, DJ LeMahieu, in my opinion, you got ripped off. Toronto ended up overpaying for George Springer. And I mean, it works out, I think, better for Toronto because they are in the American League. And as of right now, the American League is the only league that does have a DH. So it works out. If Springer can't play center field, he could go into the corner. If he can't play corner later into his contract, he could be a DH. This guy has a hell of a bat. He can, launch home runs. So good signing by the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays needed to get something done. They ended up signing Kirby Yates, earlier in the week. Now they signed George Springer. They missed out on getting Francisco Lindor. They ended up missing out on getting DJ LeMahieu. I believe they were in the running of trying to get JT Realmuto, who is still currently available. So, but right now the Phillies look like the leading candidates on trying to reacquire JT Realmuto. Don't see them getting Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer wants Garrett Cole type of money. I highly doubt he gets anything like that. I don't care if his agent is Rachel Luba. Trevor Bauer only had one good year, and it came in a pandemic year where you played 102 games less than expected. Now, usually in a 162 game season, you make about 32 starts, around there, 30 starts. And you have Trevor Bauer, starting less than 13 games, 14 games. Yeah. Half of what he was supposed to be, playing in a regular 162 season. So don't see him getting that type of money. I know he said in the past that he wants to sign, 1-year deals. Maybe he might get something, in that ballpark that he's looking for that's more money, on an annual basis than Garrett Cole. But I think Trevor Bauer is going to be one of the last elite free agents to sign. George Springer is officially off the table. So now what's going to happen with the New York Mets? The Mets didn't sign George Springer. According to Ken Rosenthal, early in the week, they were getting close to an agreement on signing Brad Hand. Now, that report, they're now further in the agreement. I don't know if it has anything to do with Jared Porter, but the Mets have, Brad Hand, who they definitely need to sign. They need to bolster that bullpen because Justin Wilson is a free agent. I don't see Justin Wilson re-signing. I know we have Jerry Blevins, but we need a good left-hander in the bullpen. Guy's a closer. Don't see him closing for the Mets, but additional arms in that bullpen, that can, shut down the door in important stretches of the game. We're going to need that type of stuff, for the New York Mets. But yeah, so Brad Hand's available. Jake Odorizzi's available. I know Jackie Bradley Jr. is available. I really don't want him on the Mets at this point. MLB has voted Brandon Nimmo to be the 5th best center fielder in the game. I'd rather have him, and the Mets need to extend Michael Conforto. This may be a blessing in the sky for George Springer not to be signed, because this may allow the Mets to extend Conforto and Lindor, which I'm completely fine with that. But the Mets definitely need to get, bullpen help. Whether it's Brad Hand, whether you get Jake Odorizzi as more depth for the starting rotation, have him in the bullpen. You got to get something. I don't see the Mets getting Trevor Bauer, like I said. Trevor Bauer should not be a priority at this point. But the Mets do need to make Brad Hand as their number one priority. You didn't get, George Springer? Fine. Move on to the next big free agent that's out there and move on forward. But yeah, guys, so that's what ended up happening. George Springer is officially now a Blue Jay. 6 years, $150 million. He's going up north in Canada, play for the city of Toronto. Jared Porter got fired for being a creep and not understanding the word no. I don't have any sympathy for him whatsoever. I don't see him getting a job anytime soon in baseball, if so, not ever, And who knows what's gonna happen as for the next GM of the New York Mets? Be very interested to see if Sandy goes back to the people that he had interviewed prior and offers one of those guys that he had interviewed while trying to find his initial GM. Offers them a contract to become GM of the New York Mets. Look, it's one of 30 teams. It's one of how do I phrase it? For this GM position, it's one of 30 positions that's open. Imagine this spot's gonna get filled very, very quickly, especially with the Mets ascending and there being, I would say right now the second best team in the NL East in the National League. You definitely have them inside the top 5. So imagine the Mets are gonna, try to finish up, their GM searching, and then by, I would say the latest by next week, at the ending of next week, the Mets should have a GM, in place. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. And that's going to cover everything on Take Your Base. George Springer's officially a Blue Jay. Jared Porter got fired. I know I didn't really talk much into the DJ LeMahieu signing, but DJ LeMahieu re-signed with the New York Yankees for 6 years, $90 million. And that's everything that happened in the world of baseball. All right, guys. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. And please hit that like and subscribe button and hit that bell for more notifications to get videos just like this. All right, guys. See ya.